Well, hello everybody. We would like to use this opportunity to welcome you to Amiete's talk show, where we're all about loving God and loving people. We have a wonderful guest today. Her name is Patty Pedro, and she is a scientist. And she is just an awesome lady. She loves children. She loves outdoors. She loves animals. She has some animals of her own, dogs. She also loves cooking. Fun lady. So help me in welcoming Patty.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, welcome. So tell us, I'm very excited about, sitting by a scientist. I've never been that close to one before. That's exactly what she is. She's a scientist and a woman at that. So I'm interested. How did you get interested in being a scientist?
I was drawn to it during some different teachers of mine in college, and also some summer projects. It was just totally different doing a project where you didn't know the answer.
Okay.
So the thrill of discovery, even if it's very modest, and also not doing the same thing every single day, having a creative aspect, and also just the potential that you might be able to do some greater good with it. I do have parents who taught me to think very critically and carefully.
Okay.
And I owe that to them, that they also helped give me an ear for speech and writing, and we're very supportive.
Wow. Parents are just awesome, very supportive. I love how parents are good about steering us in the right direction. And for you, your parents played a very good role in even wanting to be a scientist.
Right. Neither one of them were interested in science in particular, and were a little puzzled by my choice.
Okay.
But my mother really is a scientist, because as the home cook, she would try several recipes every week.
Okay.
And she's always tweaking them, and so that's a female scientist right there.
Okay.
And then my father,
This is your father right
very
here?
crippin', yeah.
Okay, that's your mom?
Yeah,
Okay.
and this is something I brought along that has a lot of sentimental value.
Okay.
A lot of cookies and cakes were put in this from my mom's work.
Oh,
And so this has enormous sentimental value. I don't even want to wash it, because it probably has some stuff from us kids taking stuff out of it. She was really ultra hygienic, so we know it wasn't from her.
Okay.
And my father, as a lawyer, always wanted me to think critically, and always wanted me to, if I was going to offer an argument or an idea, to be able to support it, and to not have it be really a silly idea, or what he would call a straw man. So
Okay.
probably only a 9-year-old on the block anyway that knew what a straw man argument was. Very disappointed I didn't become a lawyer like him. I really don't like the adversarial aspect of law. He was in corporate law, and so he did more negotiating, and that's more my style in terms of trying to see that often scientists get pitted in one camp versus the other camp, and at the end of the day, when there are conflicting findings, they're usually both correct.
Okay.
It's usually something that we don't fully understand about the whole picture. My interest in science about the brain is related to my interest in people. When I was on a boys' ranch as a counselor, I always wondered what was going on in those boys' heads. And
That's awesome. Scientists know what's going on in your head.
cognitive psychology has been helpful in understanding higher cognition, and also neuroimaging has shown that there is neurobiology to that. I've been really blessed by mentors. My main mentor in psychology was Michael Posner, and he got the Presidential Medal of Honor for his work.
Oh, wow.
And he's an extremely hard worker. He's internationally known for his work in attention.
Mm-hmm.
And he taught me personally about attention, alerting, and orienting. And that's played into my current interest of coming up with products that are useful to people, particularly people with different disabilities. And I think a lot of the problems that people have with, say, working memory is that they're not properly alerted.
Okay, so it sounds like you are one of those scientists that is into getting people to be able to use their cognitive, do you say cognitive skills?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
So what got you, because my other interest is that, what you find exciting about being a scientist. I'm just sure there's lots.
It's the thrill of the discovery. What weighs you down is that unfortunately, what most people don't know is that people aren't funded by their career, or I think they should fund by the person, not by the project of the week. Because right now, scientists are spending 80% of their time writing grants and also dealing with regulatory matters. So it looks like all the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed, and where that kind of screening really belongs at the very beginning. Because it's all about the individual, is the individual ethical. So I think it'd be better to do it at the front end, rather than have all the burden of the IRB screening, where people have some really unusual concerns or points, and they take 6 months to hold back progress. And then also right now there's a funding rate of 10% with National Institute of Mental Health.
So you're saying that you like just being, I'm
saying I would not have gone into academic science if I would have known so little of my time would be doing science.
Okay, so you as a scientist, what you really enjoy about being a scientist, or that atmosphere, is being able to...
I like the science part.
Okay, so you like being able to...
And I enjoy people, so I enjoy the idea part, the exchange part.
Okay.
I enjoy the critical thinking. I enjoy the questions that disagree with my point of view.
Okay.
I find that stimulating. I don't enjoy what I'll call the busy work and also the kind of propaganda machine that scientists have to have, where they're spending more time trying to travel and give the same talk.
Okay, so
so they get funding to do their work. I just think that it should be more like the German system, where half the grants get funded. So there is a certain level of excellence that's expected. You don't just get funded for doing nothing.
Okay.
But you're not spending all your time begging for money and worrying about money, because that really affects your creativity.
Okay. So what I'm hearing you say that you enjoy as a scientist, you love the seeking, like when something is presented before you, you're like, okay, you're excited about finding a solution.
Right.
To that, and you're excited about people asking questions about what you're doing. You're excited about the adventure of nobody.
Exactly, the adventure, and also hearing about other people's adventure. Why did you think to look for this? And the most important findings almost are accidental findings.
Okay.
But when people write their papers, they have to come up with some phony hypothesis, null hypothesis, and then they're really testing for something. And I think that's really dull. It's not true.
Okay.
It's kind of playing the rules of the game. But why not say this is a totally unexpected finding? And we've shown through statistics it's probably very reliable. Of course, everything needs to be replicated, whatever it is.
Okay.
But isn't this wonderful?
Because I'm thinking as a scientist, you're probably, you find everything exciting because you're always, because the one thing I love about God is that He has given us this beautiful earth, and He has made all this awesome stuff to be able to, discover. Because
exactly.
I find that when you discover something, you get to find out about some of the characteristic of God. And I'm sure, like you as a scientist, you get to experience God in all kinds of ways.
You're right. You really see the masterful design of things.
Mm-hmm.
As far as articulating my faith, my Christian faith, a book that articulates it better than I can articulate is
Okay.
by our current head of National Institute of Health, Francis S. Collins, The Language of God.
Okay.
And he argues vehemently and consistent with my view is that when people can't understand something, they go, oh, it's intelligent design. And the scientists go, well, that's just because it hasn't been studied very well.
Yeah,
and we don't have the tools yet. And it's all intelligence design.
Okay.
Whether
okay.
you think you understand the process or not. It's all intelligence design. So
yeah, I know his dad is a very intelligent. He's very wise.
right, but some people see it as proof, like, you know, there's no way that this, you know, I don't know how the universe came to be, and for all I know, God could have guided evolution. There's some things that I don't need to know. To me, it's much more important, which is what my parents instilled into me. How do I treat other human beings?
Amen.
That's more important than any scientific finding I will ever find. My folks had varied backgrounds. My mom was one of 12 and very poor, and she wanted to make sure that just because we were eventually, as my dad went up in the company, living a higher lifestyle, that I didn't become arrogant. She always made me plant without any gloves and do clean toilets and everything without gloves, because she wanted to make sure that you know that my lily white fingers could get dirty.
Okay.
And so now when I look at my fingers and I realize I should be wearing gloves more, and other people are like, you don't wear gloves when you do that? I think, Mom.
Isn't it interesting how, you know, our parents play such a great role in our life? We don't know until, of course, we become adults, and it's like, you know, because it's like we watch our parents doing certain things, and then we become adults and find ourselves doing the same thing. Like, what? What am I doing that for?
You inherit the good with the bad.
You know, so for you,
my father really instilled with his legal background that you want to know what you don't know.
okay.
You want to know the limits of your knowledge, and that's exceedingly important in science, in law, and in human relations. You cannot read another person's mind. It may look like they have entirely different motives or background or reactions than they really are. If they look upset, it might not have anything to do with you. Or it might.
Okay.
You have to ask and you have to listen. And both my parents had a real gentle manner. So it was very inviting for people to tell them their life story, and they very discreetly would help other people. They were somewhat introverted. I think they had 3 offspring, they're probably even more introverted, but they would just behind the scenes help a lot of people, and were very generous with their time.
And it sounds like that's where, you know, because the one thing I've learned about scientists is that there are different types of scientists. I'm sure based on what your parents were doing, that's why you got interested in the part of science that had to do with people.
I think so too, yeah.
Because of your parents. Now you brought us some books here. I know you've talked about this one. This one here, it says...
Well, this is the direction that my interests are going. I think that right now science and engineering are at a point where we can combine cognitive psychology with what's called human-centered design engineering.
Okay.
And the person that I've just done the most impressive work to me is Guy Andre Boy. And this is orchestrating human-centered design. And what it is when you design a product to help somebody or that's going to be used by somebody, he actually calls it an artifact. The production line and everything else is the same.
Okay.
But when you're designing it, you go to the environment that's going to be used, and you ask questions.
Okay.
And you watch carefully. Rather than, hey, would you like to be a beta tester? And then you go, well, it's really hard to reach this at the same time, so you bring those 2 buttons together. Where really you could be addressing many more problems or issues and making a much more efficient system. And I think with my knowledge about different ways of learning, whether it's a somatosensory stimulus or whatever, I think I could contribute to more smart products for people that need them.
Okay. And then you have this here, Against All Hope.
This is about the importance of talking to people of different backgrounds to really find out the real story.
Okay.
And this is about someone who got many awards for this book and for his work, and finally, because of his work, got out of Cuba, where he had been in prison. And the pictures in this book are consistent with what a friend of mine's father went through, according to my friend. Just horrific conditions that would just be really appalling to discuss. And so to me, it's really hard to hear about people just want to go to Cuba to be a tourist. It's one more island in the Caribbean I haven't been to yet. When I know what goes on there and what has gone on there, and then I know about the deeds that my husband and his two brothers have from their grandparents, and everybody in his family went there with nothing, and they were self-made.
Okay.
And they had to leave it to get out of there. And they got out of there, and both of my husband's parents are were only children, so there aren't relatives there. Now, people who have relatives there, they can't say anything bad about Cuba without the relatives bearing consequence. And I asked my friend, my husband's Cuban, but I also have another, but the one who used to have terrible actually post-traumatic stress disorder from visiting his father as a political prisoner when he was 3 to deliver food. Otherwise, Dad wouldn't have got to eat. I asked him different questions, and I said, when these parades, he always looks so happy. And he says, well, people don't have to work that day, and also, if you want a little can of tuna thrown your way, you better have a big grin.
Now, I like tuna. I like tuna, and I'm sure that was made by a scientist. Hallelujah. We like that. So some of the questions that I have about you, of course, we have, teenagers and women, that are out there, and even men that are interested in, moving in this direction of being a scientist. What kind of thing would you like to say to them?
Take as much science and math as you can, and also don't neglect
science and math.
Also, you'll get nowhere if you can't communicate it. So
Go ahead.
Take speech classes, take writing classes.
Okay. Speech, writing classes, math. Okay.
Science classes, and also try to work on some special projects, so you could see what science is really like. It really isn't trying to get the answer in the lab where you try to get your little compound purified, or an organic lab where you get a kind of a fake smell of banana. And then you're grading on it. That's not science.
Okay.
That's extremely boring and routine, and I won't want no part of that. It'd be like an assembly line.
Okay, so do math
and do a research project.
A
real research project,
Uh-huh.
and have fun with it. And also realize that you'll be able to do a better research project if you involve more people.
Okay.
Because everybody brings something different to the table. And then you'll also learn that kind of how to deal with group dynamics, and how to gracefully, if someone is kind of taking over and someone else has something to contribute, how to gracefully try to get the person who hasn't said anything to say something.
So to me, it sounds like interpersonal skills are very important.
Absolutely.
Okay, because before I met you, of course, I really didn't know much about sciences, but I know some of the perception of a science is that they're locked up in this room and they're instrument and they research these things, and there's very little human contact. And what I'm hearing you say is that as a scientist, interpersonal skills are very important. You mentioned one of
they're huge. They're huge.
You have to take your English, taking English communication, learning to interact with people, and doing research that involve people. Which to me, that's a new concept in terms of where scientists are concerned. So I'm glad you're, encouraging, our viewers to.
Yeah, I think where we failed as a community is to explain how science works in terms of why we need broad funding of everything, because we never know what's going to make the difference.
Okay.
The big breakthroughs in the field of pathology have not come from pathology, they've come from the field of immunology.
Okay, she's using some big words. I'm a simple word person.
And also you don't know what's going to be useful. My husband, for his PhD thesis, actually by helping somebody and seeing some weird little structure, and then she wasn't interested in following it up. And his thesis advice said, okay, you got 6 months to work on this, and then you know that's it. He actually identified an organelle in the cell, in the muscle cell, and he got to name it. And then it just sat there and it was in textbooks. He's like, well, you know, the people have replicated it. As it turns out, it's a key player in understanding different types of muscular dystrophy.
Okay.
So something that looks like, so what? You know, we really need, we need something for heart disease right now. We need something for muscular disease right now. You don't know where the answer is going to come. And if you don't have those building blocks and those little findings here and there to put things together, it's really hard to figure it out. Now you can direct funding, can bring interdisciplinary scientists from other disciplines to a problem. And I think that's been beneficial for AIDS research, which is why we've made so many more advances, say, in AIDS research than, say, schizophrenia research. So you emphasizing a disease and throwing a lot of resources does draw in people from other backgrounds. Because we're all desperate just to survive, which is partly why I like to go, I'm considering maybe going into the private sector and coming up with products and being a consultant. I know I have to find out if the bureaucracy of small business is worse than the grant process and the regulatory process, because if everybody's still spending 85% of their time doing what they don't want to do, it would probably be the same. I do think that you can tailor make things more quickly in a smaller environment. But you have to have the critical players, and I have a friend who's a mechanical engineer, or actually a materials engineer, who's working with me on developing a head holder so that people are still doing neuroimaging. Which is one reason we don't know as much as we do want to about schizophrenia, is because when we have imaged them, they've moved a lot. And so their data has not been usable. And that's really a shame, because you know, they went to the work of coming in and also just the resources. So it's really easy to get data, but you have to make sure it's good data. Well, Patty, we really appreciate you coming and sharing with us about being a scientist. We learn a lot, you know. So thank you for taking the time to, you know, come and just share with us about being a scientist, what that entails. You know, one of the things I'm excited about is finding out. Now you know that scientists, they like to talk to other people. You know, they like relationships. And you've been around a lot of scientists. I assure you, we just don't look like we belong on the Big Bang Show.
You know, so thank you for coming and sharing.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
So this is Amiete's Talk Show, and again, my name is Amiete Clement. Until next time, Amiete's Talk Show, where we're all about loving God and loving people. Be blessed. That's it.
Oh, thank you.